Thank you all for coming. Good morning, day 2 of AthVentureCon. I want to welcome Irene from Youth Work Ireland, Evie from Athenry Adventurers, and I myself am Áine, one of the leaders from Athenry Adventurers and committee members from AthVentureCon. Thank you for coming to the talk. We're going to kick off with Irene.
Well, thanks, Áine, and thank you for having us today. We've been on a little bit of an adventure with the Athenry Adventurers RPG Club. Áine and Evie are going to be talking a little bit more about that, but I'm just going to be talking a bit more generally about setting up a youth club. Youth clubs can have lots of different themes and different age groups and different activities, so I'm just going to be a little bit more general, and then Áine and Evie are going to be a lot more specific. So Youth Work Ireland Galway is a registered charity, and we've been around since the 70s, which makes us feel kind of old, but actually some of our affiliated youth clubs are even older than us. They predate us. We were previously known as Galway Youth Federation. We used to have quite a big amount of youth clubs in the past, particularly around this area for some reason. This has been a really good area, yeah. We're a member of Youth Work Ireland, which is a national youth work provider service, and we make up the largest youth work providers in the country as a federation. So our federal model means that we have local autonomy. So each of our local youth services has its own board of directors, makes its own decisions, and we decide that we want to be part of a federation, that we're stronger together. I suppose the local member youth services then work together to look at youth projects and targeted services and volunteer-led youth clubs and a whole range of different products. Myself and Evie were talking earlier about climate. That's one area that we're quite strong in. LGBT youth work, lots of different youth services in local areas. I have 2 clickers, so that's making things challenging. So there's a map, and it might look like a sorry, am I not clicking the right one? I'm not, obviously.
Do you want to give me the mouse and I'll match whatever you have?
Yes, sorry, that would be great. Thank you, Áine.
I got you.
So I'm on the map now. So I'm back a little bit. Yeah, so that map might look like it's a bit sparse. So they're the local youth services, but they're actually just the administrative offices of the youth services. When you go onto the website of Youth Work Ireland, you'll see a map, and it has pins all over the country. So there's youth projects and youth clubs in lots of different corners of the country, but if you're starting a youth club, they're the places that you need to go to meet the manager or to the youth club's worker. And it's on the website, so if you go to the youthworkireland.ie website and just /our-members. So what's the first step in setting up a youth club? And I think everybody will agree that the most important thing is to find a group of like-minded adults who have the same purpose and the goal to set up a youth club for young people. And at that point then, when you've found your core group of people, I think talk to your local youth service. Scope out some potential venues in the community, preferably free and low cost, because obviously that's not a money-making venture. And see if your local education and training board, so here in Galway, that's the Galway Roscommon Education and Training Board, have a grant to set up youth clubs. So most of the ETBs have a start-up grant. Then they have ones for established youth clubs as well that they run during the year, and you can get those for capital or for running different activities. Hold a meeting to see if young people and their families are interested in a youth club in the area. So while you might be interested and you might have a really specific interest and you think I'm going to do something good, you need to find out if it's actually what people want and if there's going to be a number of people that are interested. And you might pick up more leaders with that meeting as well. You decide on your age group, your time and your frequency of the sessions, and you need to avoid clashes with activities because a youth club is based in a community, and for some communities there's not a lot happening, but for others there's a lot. So there's sports, there's drama, there's lots of different things. So you try to pick a time that will suit the group of young people, yourselves, and obviously then that you're not clashing with other stuff. We usually charge a membership fee for the year, and that sets you up. So it allows you to cover your rent probably and your insurance. And then you might decide if there'll be a weekly fee. Not all clubs would charge a weekly fee, but some would charge maybe €2 or €5, depending on what your costs and your overheads are really. And the most important thing, I suppose, during all of this is to continue to meet with your core group of leaders and decide on roles and division of duties. I'm sure Áine will probably agree on that.
Yeah.
It's just to make sure that everything is covered and everybody knows what they're doing. So before you meet the young people, I'm calling these the essentials. What do you need to do? Well, all adults in the country under children first, safeguarding, need to be Garda vetted. That can be done through your local youth service. It's something that we do for free. It's a little bit of paperwork, but it's not a huge, big deal, I don't think, anymore. People are quite used to it. You need to undertake child safeguarding training. So that's a short training course. And the National Youth Council of Ireland have a specific programme. TUSA have programmes, lots of different organisations have programmes, but there's one for the youth work sector. And appoint a person in your group to take the lead on safeguarding in the club. And they'll link with the designated liaison person in your youth service if any issues or concerns arise during your startup phase or when the club is set up already. In this case, that would be me in the youth service. So it's important that you know who that person is and have their phone number, because if you're going to be ringing them, it'll probably be on a Friday night or it could be on a Sunday afternoon, but it'll be when your club is running. So you need to know who to contact if you're wondering about something. And often it's generally that you're wondering about something rather than something major has happened. Avail of volunteer or leadership training that's offered, and then importantly to organise affiliation and insurance. For us, it's different around the country, but for us it costs about €250 a year. And that insurance is a group scheme that covers all of these clubs affiliated within Youth Work Ireland, so all over the country. So that means you can link in with them for activities and be sure that they're also covered. But it's for the activities and the leaders and the members, and I'm just going to stress it's not a buildings insurance. So if you're in the wonderful position of owning a building, then you need to organise that insurance yourself. But very few youth clubs own a building. So what next? Plan your first 4 weeks. So we kind of recommend that you do a 4-week cycle. Some clubs, when they get established, will have an idea of what maybe they're doing for the whole term. And most youth clubs run with the school year. They tend to, because people are on holidays or they're away or they're working other times. Your rota of leaders is important. You need to be sure that you've got enough people every week. And I say 1 to 10 there, but if there's only 10 people or less than that, you still need 2 people. So 2 people at all times, but if you have a club of 20, you can still have 2 leaders. Now I'd be saying you probably could do with a 3rd or even a 4th, and it really depends on your activities. You need to look at your venue and have that secured, whatever materials you need for running that session, and if there's any safety considerations. Simple rules, and I say simple rules at the start because really they're about the kind of the standard, that you know, the I suppose what you expect from the first day, and they'll be added to and amended later, and particularly young people will add them. Mm-hmm. So that a document needs to be agreed as well about the standard of behaviour for leaders. And that, I think we had a lot of chats about that, because that's an important part, is that everyone's on the same page in terms of what they accept as behaviour from other people, mm-hmm. and also how they behave as well when they're around young people and when they're around each other. Decide on your opening night and how you'll advertise it. Facebook, some people talk about it a lot. That'll get you the parents maybe, but it won't get you young people. So you need to decide what platforms you're going to advertise on, and that's a decision locally as well. You could be using Instagram, you could be using, something else. Have a registration night for sign up. I think that's important because then people have a face. They're only there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They can look at the venue, and it gives people a chance to be a bit more comfortable when they come on that first night. It's really important that you have parental or guardian consent. So there's some form of a registration form. There's loads of templates out there, so you don't have to create that. And the form should include if there's any medical or personal needs that the leaders should be aware of to support participation. And I say medical because sometimes like people just think of allergies or if people are on medication, but there are lots of other things that you might want to let somebody know that would make it comfortable for a young person to take part. And it could be that they might need a time out if they're feeling overwhelmed, they could have some sensory issues. There's lots of different things, or that they might want to be with one of their friends at the start for, you know, until they become comfortable. On your first night, so it's great, you've got that far already. You have a welcome desk and get everyone to sign in, and I would suggest sign out as well at the end of the session. If everybody's leaving at the same time, that's not such a big issue, but if some people are leaving during the session, they would need parental consent for that as well, but just so that you have that record. I'd suggest some stickers and labels for everyone to write their names and their pronouns, because you're not going to know everybody, particularly at the start. You might be really good at remembering names, but lots of people aren't. Introduce all the leaders, and I'm saying and the young people if that feels right. It may be putting a spotlight on some people and they may not be comfortable on the first night with that. So it really is a case of what feels right on the night. Go over the ground rules and expectations, and young people should be invited to add their own. It's important that those are displayed once they're agreed and signed off, but you could be working on those for a few weeks. You might just have a few simple ones at the start and then you add to them over time, but not everyone's going to remember them. And so they need to be displayed, or that people have access to them somehow on their phones. There's lots of technology. We were talking about QR codes earlier. Mm-hmm. Lots of interesting ways to make information available to people. Make any comfort and safety announcements such as toilets and fire exits, and maybe you might have a calm space or a quiet space for anybody who needs that. And then icebreakers, so just to get people moving, to get people going, to figure out each other's names and what people like. And then the main activities for the night, and I suppose don't forget to have fun. You might check in at the end if it feels right in terms of how it's gone for young people. You definitely would have a session just with the leaders later to see how ye felt about it on that night. There are national standards under the ETBs for volunteer-led youth groups, and these are endorsed by the Department of Children and all of the other initials that go after that. The standards are pretty straightforward, and you'd expect them in youth clubs, so that you're concerned about the safety and well-being of young people, and that all your activities and how you organise yourself takes that into consideration. That it's young person centred, so that young people get to have a say in what the activities are and how the club is run, that they can voluntarily participate. And if they decide to opt out, that's also their choice. They might opt out of just an activity, or they might opt out of the club and return at a later time. And that it's inclusive, and that the voice of the young person is important. So if there's something that in the club that young people really want to change, then that's our job as youth leaders, to listen to that and to make that happen. And that it's developmental and educational, so that everything you're doing is about the development and the achievement and the progression of young people. And that from the start, that might be they're just part of the club, then they might be deciding on what the programs are, then they might be leading programs, then they might be Evie, who's talking here at panels today, or organising a big event like AthVentureCon. To qualify as a youth club, and I'm saying to qualify as a youth club because this is back to the standards again and the ETBs. So there are grants for youth clubs, and they are available if you qualify as a youth club. It doesn't mean that somebody who doesn't hit all of these is not a youth club, but to be a youth club that will get funding, it's important for these. So it's volunteer led, and it's based on the voluntary participation of young people. All adults are Garda vetted, and that there's a register of your members, so that you're able to produce that if somebody from the ETB came along or somebody from the youth service. Parental consent is important for anybody under 18, but you might have members who are over 18, and assent is important for them, so they sign their own forms, their own registration forms. 75% of the club or the group members should be aged between 10 and 21 for it to be listed as a youth club. the club should be fully compliant with the requirements of Children First and safeguarding concerns, so that's really important. Appropriate insurance cover is in place, and that the group has a health and safety statement, policy or procedures, or that they operate in a building that has those and you're aware of those and you follow those. So you don't have to have your own statement if you are not in charge of a building, but you're using one that has one, then you use theirs. So what has Youth Work Ireland to offer? And that's not just Youth Work Ireland Galway. So advice on getting started, Garda vetting, safeguarding and other trainings, a designated liaison person for advice on child protection or safeguarding issues, affiliation, insurance, support and guidance. So affiliation insurance is the bit that costs. For us, that's €250. All of the rest of it is on the house or is part of supports that we need to provide. Our unique selling point over maybe other organisations or other structures is it's your youth club. It's not ours. You're choosing to affiliate to our youth service, and you can leave us and it's still your youth club. So lock, stock and barrel, it's yours. It's not a one size fits all. So we don't have the kind of rigid structures. We have the standards and we have expectations of people, but it's not a one size fits all. So every youth club is different and it's responding to local needs and the community. You decide on the name of the youth club with your members. You decide on the activities of your youth club based on the interests of your members. And so we've a huge variety of named clubs. So some people pick where they're from, the village they're from, or they put what they're doing into the title of it, or they just pick Q Club. For example, they do drama and variety, and that's what their members are interested in. So we have a range of youth clubs. There's a My Club app being rolled out for all the clubs in Youth Work Ireland, so there'll be lots of resources on that, but there'll also be a way for you to store your documentation on it as well, securely.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, it's just starting, so it was trialled in a couple of places and it's just starting now. So yeah.
Great.
It'll be great, yeah. There's national events such as Youth Wave and Nullig competition. There's annual resource packs for Youth Work Ireland Week. There's opportunities to be involved with other youth services around the country and other youth clubs, like the Irish Youth Music Awards. For example, there's been some work done recently around climate justice as well. We are part of different networks and we avail of Erasmus Plus funding for international opportunities for leaders and members, and that's really attractive. I think we've had a group in Estonia 2 weeks ago. There's a group going to Finland tonight. I think when you get established as a youth club and you go on your first youth mobility, youth exchange, you're hooked. It's really, taking young people away for a week and getting to meet young people from another country on a topic that they're all interested in is incredible. If you've loved this weekend, imagine it by 7 days.
Oh gosh.
And there's always opportunities to network with other clubs, and hopefully if there are other RPG clubs set up around the country,
that would be
then
amazing.
Yeah. So the end or the beginning. So it's the end of my presentation, but hopefully it's the beginning of Áine's presentation.
Well, yeah.
Hopefully it'll be the beginning of you setting up a local RPG club. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. That's great. I'm going to touch on some of the same points, but coming at it from another angle. So when we were setting up Athenry Adventurers, I had been playing Dungeons & Dragons for a while with my friend Drew, and we both have younger kids. My background is in youth theatre, so I would have had a lot of experience working with young people. And Drew and I were like, there is not a lot in our town for the other kids. There are kids that feel othered and that it's not covered, and that there were kind of aspects that were very well covered and there were other things that were really not. And we were like, how great would it be if they had a place like this? And we started describing this thing and they were like, maybe we could do this. So we got in touch with a few of our friends. So Vin just come in here, and Jonathan and Carrie, and we started to flesh out the idea. And then we approached Irene and Youth Work Ireland, and they give that jumping off point and that support, and to know that something is viable and that you can give it a go, and that you're protected, and that you have that safety net there, and that kind of the information, and I don't know the answer to this. There's somebody at the end of the phone, that you're not out on your own trying to figure it all out. So it was very helpful to us to have that connection with Youth Work Ireland. So that's where we started. This was our first night, I think, at the club, me goofing off. And we set up I'm getting out of order. Within our group, we designated different roles and different things that each person was passionate about, but also this is a job that needs to get done. Who's going to take that? Who's going to cover that? And not all the jobs are lovely and pleasant. Some of them are, you have to sit down and read this form and fill it. But it needs to get done, and it's all part of it. And everybody's taking part and taking the load. And the more you can split the load among people, the easier it is to get it off the ground. So we designated roles between us. We talked about how it would work and debated that hugely, and talked about was it viable and how we could commit to it. And this is very much what you were saying about the getting a venue and what night of the week that you're going to run it on, and setting up rules and systems, and well, what if this happens? Then how are we going to deal with it? And thinking about as much of those things ahead of time so that we're ready, and going through all of our training and Garda vetting and getting all the ducks in a row to get ready for your first night. So we have a lovely venue in Athenry. We use the Athenry Community Centre, Community Hall. I love that I tagged it on Google Maps, because people pop that up and they see all the RPG dice. It's good. So Athenry Adventurers is in that hall. It's a great big echoey hall, so it can be really buzzing, a lot of people in it, but we're lucky as well that it has 2 little side rooms, which allows us to have that little quieter space for the people that would need it, to have games that can be a little bit more contained, so that there are options within the venue to cover everybody's needs, and there's toilets and everything else. We need more storage, but we're working on it. So that there's always going to be teething problems no matter where you go, and it's identifying those and finding the solutions that are going to work for you. We're very happy in our little home, and it works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. It's great. So for our first night, we were talking about advertising and Facebook. Evie, how did you hear about the club?
From my friend's mum. Found it on Facebook and sent it to my mum. So
there you go. The system works. So there's a lot of the times with teenagers, it will be, my mum said this, or that you can put it up in the school, you can put up posters in the library or in the garage where they're all going in to pick up their lunch. But a lot of the time it is kind of Mom saw it on Facebook. Okay,
Yeah.
But that's how it comes together. So don't overlook the Facebook part, because parents have a big influence. We also did set up social media accounts right from the start with our logo, so that if they wanted to find something, we set up a few TikTok videos. I did videos explaining what the different dice were, just to dip a toe in that there is some sort of presence there, that if they don't want to look on Facebook at whatever this club is that their mom found, there's a TikTok, there's an Instagram, there are things where they can engage with it, that it's not mom's Facebook account. And within that as well, so we also set up our email accounts so that we have a Google Drive where we can share documents, that we have the passwords for just our core group of committee members, so that we can say, okay, I have this covered, or where's the logo for that thing, that we have all of those things in one place and can work on them together, which is immensely helpful. And sharing the emails, so you can see that things are getting replied to because everybody's sharing that responsibility, and we know when things have been read and dealt with, we're marking them as read, and it works. Research and funding is a huge part of being able to do extra special things with the club. So a lot of the time, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the funding, so other than the kind of the setup grant, a lot of the fundings are very specific to if you wanted to get funding to do something through Irish, you could get funding for doing that. Or if you wanted to get funding for doing something for a specific purpose, the grants are not necessarily going to pay for your rent or your insurance, but the grants can pay for getting in someone to come teach something or to go towards specific purposes. So some of them you need to be established before you can go get those. And there is a lot of work in that, and that's one of the ones that I tag out to other people to go work on those grants, and they have helped us to make some really special things at the club, which Evie is going to talk about in a couple of minutes. And we've had a couple of really great things. One of them is equipment for helping us to do AthVentureCon, and we got a cricket machine, and we had the young people, they designed the dragon for our lovely logo, and we put it into the cricket machine and it cut out all these things, and then they were like pressing it onto the t-shirts to get ready for the con. And it's building a skill set for them, because the youth club is not just playing Dungeons and Dragons. The youth club is playing Dungeons and Dragons, leading Dungeons and Dragons, painting minis, talking about character creation, doing improv class, learning about sword fighting, because then you can apply that to how you play it into TTRPGs, learning about LARPing, which is live action role-playing games, and how all of these things connect into the fabric of what the thing is. And a beautiful microcosm of it is AthVentureCon. And having the young people be like the foundation of what that is and to be part of the creation of it. As much as possible. You have to have responsible adults too. So our general plan when we got started, weekly gaming sessions, generally we found that it worked for us to have 3 weeks of TTRPG, so that's playing Dungeons and Dragons or other games as well. And so it was kind of like campaigns for 3 weeks. And then we'd have a week of just board games. People could bring in whatever games, Magic the Gathering, some of them are mad into that. And to come in and have a space where we can just relax and play games, and we do 3 weeks on and then 1 week of that. And it seems to work for us. One of the ways that we did get funding for the club as well, in the first year we were invited to MAD Festival of Music, Arts and Design. Is it design? Drama. Thank you. Drama. I should have known that. Music, Arts and Drama in Athenry Festival, and they gave money to the club if we ran an adult night. So we had our leaders from the club run an adult night of TTRPGs. So it was a lot of the parents like, what is this club that they're going to every week? What is Dungeons and Dragons? And other people are like, oh, I haven't played that since the 80s. Yes, and coming in. And there's been networks that have come from that. And all of these little things are coming together. So one of our leaders, Karen, started her very first, was she at your table, Vincent? She was at my table. Karen is one of the leaders of Athenry Adventurers now. Her daughter is a member of Athenry Adventurers. Her very first foray into this all was playing in a game that Vincent ran at Mad Festival. It's just like, it's beautiful. These things all link in together in a beautiful, wonderful way. Grants for added things, so we will talk about that, like equipment and workshops. Training the young GMs, so game masters, and future leaders. Lovely Sarah down the back here. Sarah was one of the members of the youth club and has aged out of it, but doesn't want to leave us and wants to come back and help out with the club and come back in the role and the capacity of a leader. And that is a beautiful thing when you can help young people to move on to a leadership role, and you're equipping them with the skills that they need to create these things themselves and to be part of all the work that goes on in the background. AthVentureCon. So before all this, my world was youth theatre. And the big thing for youth theatre was like a theatre festival, and you would bring your show to the theatre festival, and that was our big thing. I view AthVentureCon as our big thing for the Athenry Adventurers Youth Club, that this is our big ticket, this is what we're all looking forward to. In our annual event, it gives networking opportunities for the young people, it gives them the chance to play TTRPGs, other systems, and with other leaders, because everyone teaches differently, everyone GMs differently, and to have that opportunity to watch talks with Lawrence Schick and Doug Kaufman, and these are the people that build the foundations of this game that we have turned into this thing, and they can ask the questions like, what inspired you to make a tabaxi? Which is one of the questions from a club member to Lawrence yesterday, and making those connections for them and joining those dots is fabulous, and AthVentureCon is so dear to our hearts, and I hope everyone's enjoying it as much as I am. We also have Halloween, we do cosplay, and summer barbecue and group trips. Last year's AthVentureCon funded us going to the cinema.
Oh yeah, we watched the Dungeons and Dragons movie. It was really good, yeah.
So that's the end of all the words. I am going to hand it over to Evie a little bit. I'm going to go through some photos, and can you talk about like how you started in the club and what you think? And hand it over to Evie. I'll show you some lovely pictures in the background.
Before I started in the club, I did actually play it in school, but when I joined the club, it allowed me to meet new and different people, because the people who I did it in school, I was already friends with. And when I went to this club, I met so many more people, and now I see them outside of the club, which is something I've never done with a club before, which is one thing I like about the Athenry Adventure Club. It's like unique in that the way you make friends, because of the way you're playing the games and stuff, makes you closer to people. And yeah, that's a photo of us playing Dungeons and Dragons.
There's going to be a few of those, understandably.
And I've also made the way that you can apply your other unique talents to it. So it's not just playing Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe you don't prefer playing Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe you like painting the miniatures. I made some origami dragons for the convention, and I like origami, and it's like a unique thing that not many other people do. So being able to actually do something with it, it was like really good.
Do you remember the one shot that we did, and you had the moth?
Oh yeah, and also I made when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you have like figurines and stuff. And I was able to make a moth because my character in Dungeons & Dragons has a pet moth, and it was just really cool to be able to apply like art skills and stuff like that to this club, and it's like a bunch of different things put together.
They became very protective of this moth.
Yeah, I didn't want it to die. Nearly did.
And it's a lovely story moments as well, that was maybe 2 years ago, and I still remember this beautiful little paper moth. I should have gotten a picture of that actually. There's a lot of equipment with the club. We bring our own stuff from home, but we were able to, some people donated things, and the funds that we get and the money that we make from AthVentureCon allows us to buy the dice and the books and the minis and the everything else. We did you were talking about the mini painting. I think there's some pictures of the mini painting coming up as well. Board game nights. How do you feel about board game nights?
It's fun playing board games I've never played before and never heard of before. So like more smaller games that other people haven't heard of, like Coup and stuff like that. And like your friends teaching you how to play this. It's just, it's good.
So that was, actually Jonathan's up there on the screen. Jonathan is one of the leaders at the club, and he had a great idea for AthVentureCon. Some of our youth club members that have been playing these board games every week, they have been working on teaching them to people, and that is a skill as well, to teach people how to play a game and not make it too wordy and make it accessible. There is a skill to that. So we have 4 club members downstairs right now, I think, teaching families and people to come in and play these games. It's much more fun to learn a game by doing it rather than reading a book. So having somebody there like, yep, you got it, and to support them is lovely. Do you remember when you were doing that one? Were you at the table when I was like giving you secret tasks?
Oh yeah, we had to do secret missions and try to sneak them into our games. I think mine was... Oh, sorry. Go on.
What was yours?
Mine was to tell 3 stories and to ramble on about them. And I ramble on anyway, so it was my thing. So yeah.
to show, to practice that skill of how to teach a game, but you're teaching people, and if Evie already knows how to play the game, she's just going to instinctively play the card or whatever it is. But if she has a secret task, I have to tell 3 stories while this is happening, that makes it more difficult for the teacher. And that's what they are going to have to encounter when they're downstairs trying to teach people how to play these games. It's the people that'll get sidetracked. One of the secret missions is like, you have to sneeze really loudly 3 times while they are at the most important part of the directions. Sneeze. And you have to ask 17 questions and try and derail things. And just, I was like having them troll each other, but in this controlled environment, so that they have already dealt with that, so they know how to deal with it when they get it in the smaller doses with real people. It's really great. It was really funny to watch too, when they're trying to play Uno and the person teaching is like, oh my God. One of the great things about the club as well, so we have the different leaders teaching the different games, but when they get into campaigns, so we said we do campaigns maybe 3 weeks on for a campaign and then 1 week off to play board games, they can get really invested in these campaigns and in their characters, and their characters are coming back week after week after week, and they are telling a story, and these characters are becoming like a group of friends, as well as the young people are becoming a group of friends. And the more that we can invest in their engagement with it, the stronger it will be. And I ran a group, I don't think any of them are here right now, but we were doing an unexpected wedding invitation, and it was like murder mystery. Oh, Ava, were you in? Yeah. And do you remember it culminated in the picnic? Yeah. So here's our lovely picnic. I had the Heroes Feast Dungeons & Dragons recipe book, and I made these elven things out of the recipe book, and I brought in like fruit punch and and the grassy terrain, and we sat down, we had a picnic in character. They had to be their characters having this picnic and having the scenes that they're kind of talking and trying to figure out who the murderer is or what has happened in character, drinking out of these pretty little glasses and stuff. And it is it's so enriching. Look at these faces. Look, like they are so into it. There you are, Ava. They played these like old traditional like party games, but they're doing it in character and doing these games, trying to figure out, oh, is that person actually this, or did they actually do that, or oh, maybe that was a clue, and it just enriches the story, and it kind of illustrates that TTRPGs are not. It's not just paper and dice. It's not just sitting at a table. There are so many facets to this that you can lean into, and giving those opportunities for them to explore that is
yeah. I found that the club is very unique in that way. Not many other clubs and games and stuff like that do that. So I've done like a couple clubs before, obviously. I've done like Camogie, I've done like this other youth club, and none of them I've done so many unique and different things, and like painting and like leadership things, and like it's so unique, yeah. So yeah.
What's this?
We went to see Dungeons & Dragons, the movie, all together, and it was, yeah, really fun.
Who was the noisiest in the cinema?
Not me at all, I don't know what you mean. I never talk.
It was Áine.
It was us at the back. It was all Jonathan's fault. There was a character called Jonathan, and we just couldn't handle it.
And this is us painting ghosts holding, I think it was like dice and stuff, and mine wasn't very good.
So this is one of the things that our funding went towards, was we got funding for, I can't remember it, but it basically we were able to get in an artist, and it's one of the artists that's downstairs in AthVentureCon, and she came in and taught them how to make and paint these really special minis. So I have a close-up here with Jonathan. Look at the concentration face. And these are little dice guards, and they hold up a little dice for you, or you can use them as a dice jail when your dice is not rolling well. And it's just working at a different skill set and a different interests. Here's more. Are any of these yours? No?
No, mine isn't in there.
Maybe it was bad.
So rude. We do a lot of dressing up and stuff for, like, this was for Halloween, I think, and we had a competition to see whose costume was the best. And it's like a cool way for expressing yourself and making different things. So you can see people have like painted their faces. Somebody made a cardboard head and stuff like that. It's just really creative, and it's like you're doing the club outside of the club as well. Like even I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons not only just in the club, also with my friends outside the club. So it's like enjoyable in that way. You can expand it and yeah.
And here's all the goofy leaders, because we get in on the action too. And that's all of them all together. And in the summertime, just to do something a little bit different, we have a little summer barbecue.
Yeah, and have some food. And, oh yeah, don't look at me like horrible on that photo.
Yeah.
So yeah, we listen to music and stuff like that.
And when we need to clear space, me and Vin, we and they all rush inside. There's some of the mini painting that we did.
Some of them are really detailed and really cool, and yeah, some people are just so talented. It's like, oh, I could never do that. So.
But it's a skill set that you can develop.
Yeah, and become better at in the club.
Here they are making the lovely badges. There are badges for sale downstairs. So they're part of the designing it and the assembly and everything. Like every step of the way, it's trying to empower young people so that you can take a step back and let them be the ones that this is their club. This is not about us, the leaders, it's about them.
Yeah, makes it really feel like this convention is really a part of like us. It's not the leaders, it's like what we're doing as well. So our art, there's me making some origami dragons that I'm selling as well. And it's like, it's not just the leaders, it's us that's actually doing it and volunteering and stuff like that, so yeah.
Put you to work. Making the t-shirts last year was the first time some of these teenagers had ever used an iron. I was like, I'm happy to take the time to teach you. This is how you iron this shirt. Please don't burn yourself. But it's a skill, and it's a life skill. So, and they're leading each other and
playing Mafia.
Mafia, yeah. Look, the panic on Alex's face. Oh my God. We bring in other games. Sometimes they need to get energy out. It's physical. So we have this was a beat this game, and they had to stack cups while doing a handstand. And Dabble is such a great game. Hi, Michael.
But it definitely brings you closer together than other clubs. That's what I've found.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I figured showing you photos, it gives you a sense of like what it is. I talked about MadFest where Karen joined the club. This was our promo for MadFest. The leaders went and got dressed up to make a poster for this to get the adults to come play. And these are the pictures from MadFest as well. So when we had the leaders in. And the Exiles who were here yesterday, the sword fighting guys, they came and did a workshop, and you could have heard a pin drop in that room. The concentration with them, and they're all spread out, and it's like non-contact, it's just learning the forms and stuff. It was so intense, and it was like, did Julia tell you about it?
Yeah, Julia was telling me it was so glad, and she was saying if I'd been there, it would not have been that cool. So glad I didn't go.
So that's a
drawing.
Kira's lovely dragon.
So that's what it feels like. We're all contributing and stuff to it, and the drawing on our t-shirts and stuff are made by members of the club and stuff, and yeah, it's really crazy.
And here's all of you.
Yeah. Do you know where I am?
Like, can you tell that we love it? It's so special, and it's so dear to our hearts. And there was a queue out the door on our first night, and we're like, I don't know if anybody's going to show up. And then we were worried about we're going to have too much, and recruiting other leaders to cover it so that we could welcome as many people through the door as possible. And things like this is helping to get the leaders through the door, and parents saying, yeah, actually, I'd like to help. So. Yeah, it's wonderful. I cannot recommend it enough if you are thinking of dipping your toe into getting set up with a TTRPG club. It's definitely worth pursuing. It's very fulfilling.
It's probably worth saying, actually, because you did start a little bit smaller, and then the demand was there, and then you got more leaders, and then you...
It definitely was spread by word of mouth.
Bigger.
I told all my friends about it because of how much I loved it. Then a bunch of my other friends came in, the ones who played it at school, they were like, oh, if they're doing an Athenry, I definitely want to go do it. So yeah, definitely.
That's it, guys. Thank you very much for coming along. Any questions? Oh, yeah. It's just for the audio.
So I suppose my question is, I'd like to get a little bit more of an idea of the structure of the club activities themselves on the night. So let's say I'm coming in the door of the community centre. I'm probably going to see multiple tables. It sounds like you've got a lot of people, which I want to say is very, very impressive. So is it long-term campaigns you're more into, or is it short-term, or?
It's a variety of different things. You can pick and choose which ones you want to do every night. So you can play, if you don't want to play a campaign, you can just play board games every night, and like there's a bunch of other stuff as well.
So we do mix it up a bit. In our first year we did where everybody was from the same world, and there was a job board, like they were in character going to this job board, and they would go in to do this thing, and then this character picked up an eye and they shared it with another person and they could both see out of this eye, and then they went to the secret super dungeon and the other person could see everything in the secret dungeon. Like there were links between these things, and then the next week when they would come to the club, I would be the town crier and I'd announce, oh, sadly in town we had a death during this week. The sad loss of such and such a character. And we put a little gravestone up onto the notice board. And
they're really funny as well.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's some that are
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
somebody kicked themselves to death because they rolled a natural one. It was ridiculous. But so we try to cater to what they want. Sometimes they just want to try something new. There's new systems. They're getting a little bit sick of Dungeons and Dragons. They want to try something new. So we have Vassen.
Yeah, different TTRPGs and stuff.
And learning to teach each other. And the kind of shorter games like Honey Heist or the familiar Familiar Tower one.
And with them ones, we tend to run it ourselves, so with our own leaders, because it's easier than doing a long-term campaign. Yeah. So if you just wanted to try out being a GM, so you don't have to fully commit to a proper campaign, you can just do one of them small, like, one-shots, I guess. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
That's a really ingenious way of running a group like this, I just want to say.
Hello.
Hello.
I was just wondering if you could tell us what's one thing you wish you knew when you made that step from idea to actually making this happen?
It takes a lot of time. It's you can give as much as you want, and the more you like it, the more you want to give, and it'll eat into your. But it is so worth it as well, though. Do you know what I mean? You can't underestimate the amount of time that, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that, and that's where it's invaluable that you do have enough leaders to cover you, and that you do have somebody that is good at this thing. I do the logos. I'm putting this together. That's my side. I would rather not do the grant applications. I tag somebody else for that, and we covering all those bases. But yeah, it is time consuming. It's not a small thing. So kind of to make sure you have that covered so that it's not all falling on one person.
Thank you.